In this recording, I wanted to kind of just like talk about what my beliefs are and how it pertains to human politics and that kind of thing. So the first thing I want to say is that I don't want people to get the wrong impression. Like, I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. Like, I don't associate myself with political ideologies and stuff. Like, I don't really care about any of that stuff. So Republicans most likely have read the Bible, and maybe Democrats just haven't. So, I mean, they would have more understanding of like spiritual matters than a Democrat for the most part. So I think that like why they would seem more appealing is simply because most of them have been in a church and they've read the Bible, so they're like educated. Well, on some level they're educated. Like, I don't know what the church is teaching them. I mean, but the point is that, so the Republicans would have an advantage. A lot of Republicans have an advantage because, like me, they know about Bible stuff. Like, they've been exposed to it. So they would, like if they are spreading messages, they would take a real message and they could put it in the world, and people would, gravitate to these messages because these messages come from God, and they would know the message. So that would give them like an advantage over Democrats. Like, if I were to associate with somebody, obviously it would be easier for me to associate with a person who understands spirituality over a person who really has no idea what spirituality is, what it's about, what God's about, or anything like that. So it would be like dealing with an educated person versus dealing with an uneducated person. On the reversal, I do know about science and stuff like that. So I've actually found that associating with Democrats is actually in a lot of ways really nice too. The ones that are educated, like people who are scientists and stuff, like I can actually talk with them and enjoy that. So I associate with both because I know science. I'm interested in it on some level. I mean, I'm not like deeply involved in science, but I have like a understanding of it. And it's kind of nice to just be able to talk about that, so I can really connect with both. But with the state of this world, like I said, with me believing that I'm in a spiritual war of some sort, I would probably prefer to connect with people who are spiritual, simply because the world is falling apart right in front of me, and that's cause for concern. Then again, like, scientists are worried about the environment, and I too am worried about the environment. So I don't know. Like, that's why I said that I don't take sides, because in reality, I could connect with either. It'll just be like, I don't know. Like, I'm neither, I'm not like a science denier, like a Christian science denier, and I'm not like a atheist scientist. So I don't really fall into any category. I have like my own path, my own way, or something like along those lines. So, but so like, okay, so going back to the politics. Political stuff does not interest me, honestly. Okay, so like, when you're in a bad situation, you're hoping that like a political leader will come in and fix things. And what you realize is that nobody is interested in fixing your situations, whatever the situation. So I think I've discussed this before. So like, okay, so if you're being attacked or you're being hounded and people are just pissing on you, you're going to want a person of power to come in and fix things or make things better for you. And politicians will promise you or make you believe that they're here to fix your problems or help you. And regardless of whether a Democrat or Republican is in office, nobody's going to stop the gang stalking. That's what I realized. Like, like, the Republicans will sound appealing because they're claiming to be of God, and they don't even mention gang stalking. Like, I have not heard one politician ever mention gang stalking, and I know they know about it. There's no way they don't know about it. I mean, they know about it. Like, of course they know about it. Like, this is not a secret. I mean, it's not that big of a secret to the point where even top of government officials have no idea that thousands of people are doing this along with law enforcement, and they have no idea. Anybody who believes that, I mean, You would believe anything if you believe that. I mean, so the point is that the government knows and they never mention it, like they never bring it up, and that's not a Democrat or Republican thing. That it doesn't matter whether a Democrat or Republican is office, they don't care. They're not bringing gang stalking up, and they know about it. So, like, out of all the things that the government covers, I mean, the Republicans cover, they never actually cover gang stalking. I was like, they cover every other conspiracy except the actual conspiracy that we know is real, the gang stalking, and they never bring it up. If I was a Republican and I was a God-fearing Republican, that would be a top issue. Like, I would want everybody to be aware of it, and I would be trying to get law enforcement to do something about it. At the very least, I'd be talking about it. Like, let's assume that there's no way we can stop these people because there's a demon that's just jumping in their body and making them do this stuff. At the very least, I would be talking about it in Christian circles, okay? Obviously. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd have been like, yeah, well, in case people haven't noticed, there's like wild demons jumping into people's bodies and possessing them and making them like attack God's people. So that's something we might want to look into or something. I don't know. Like, I'll bring it up. I mean, the gang stalkers are wild. I mean, they're completely out of control. Like, I go every day. Like, I have a gang stalkers. They're just like ambushing me all the time. And they go into the restaurants I go into. They mess my money up. And like, the church hasn't really did anything really. I don't know. Maybe in the very beginning they were well intentioned. I mean, after that they just were like, well, the guys just screw them, and that was that. I mean, if he dies, he dies. Who cares? Like, you know, you realize that, you know, they're just not invested in saving you from evil or anything like that. Or at least that's the impression I got. So I think to them it's just like, well, either God deals with it or it doesn't get dealt with. Like, they're not trying to be any kind of hero or anything like that. So, like, I don't really know about the church's agendas. I mean, I guess a lot of us expect them to be the hand of God, and I don't know. Like, this has actually been a tough thing for me to process. So, like, I put myself in their situations, and like, if I was the leader of a church and I was aware of this, like, the only thing I could do is think about how I would handle this situation. So I think on some level, I would expect them to do the bare minimum of what I would do if I had, you know, all these resources. I mean, especially if they know about the stalking. Like, the stalking is a big deal. Like, we cannot underestimate that. These stalkers can do anything to us, really. I mean, so they go through life. I mean, so here's the thing. They ruin your employment. They can mess up your ability to make money by ruining your employment, your everything. Like, they have their hand in everything. Law enforcement, employment, your ability to survive like a normal person, even self-employment. And I think I told you guys about what happened to my packages when I was self-employed. I get these huge packages worth like thousands of dollars, and they would be vandalized before I even got the package. It would be vandalized. Okay, like, the people would go in and open up these boxes and stuff and open the packaging up, so that instead of me selling it as new, I have to sell it as pre-owned, and the value decreases by 40% simply because it's open now instead of brand new. Like, I would get brand new merchandise, and they would actually open the merchandise, decreasing the value from, like, by at least 35 to 40% minimum, decreasing the value. And with the amount of overhead I had, I couldn't afford that. I mean, I had all this overhead, and I was barely making enough to just, you know, survive. And now I had the gang stalkers cutting open my packages and vandalizing my packages, and sometimes I didn't even get the package. And then I have to have it reshipped, and that would be hundreds of dollars. I mean, the gang stalkers were literally undermining my ability to survive in every single way. I mean, completely undermining it. Like, okay, so we have all this going on, and I gotta tell you that the church did not do anything. Like, they didn't, I mean, nothing. Like, it was just like, you're on your own. So, like, I wondered, like, if they knew that all this stuff was going on. I feel like if they were serious about God, they would have probably done something. That's why, I think a lot of people lose faith in God because they associate God with the church, and the church just always seems to let us down, doesn't it? Like, like it just keeps letting us down, and people will be like, well, it's like God let us down. Like when they let us down, you start thinking that God did it. That's why I say, it's dangerous. That's why they say it's dangerous to have a bishop or a church leader whose heart is not in it. That's why I said that, I would not take that position if my heart wasn't in it. I'm going to tell you guys something about these people. These people are not qualified to lead churches, and they lead churches, and that's why we're all it's the God's people. That's why God's mission fails, okay? It's not God, it's the people. They have strict rules about being a church leader. You cannot just be a regular person and be a church leader. So church leaders will not be the type of person who's going to think about the other man before himself. And that's just the truth of it. Look, I don't want people to, blame God for that, because God gave people instructions, and people can really choose to disobey the instructions. I mean, it's not like he's going to strike them down. So look, if you're a church leader, you have to be completely selfless, basically. I mean, you really do have to be completely selfless. The money from the church, it should not belong to any person. It's supposed to be God's money. So if people donate money, that's God's money. It's not the church's money. It's not the church leader's money or the pastor's. Nobody's money except for God. So the point of the money is to do God's will. Like go out into the world and do Jesus Christ stuff, like what Jesus Christ would have done if he had the money, okay? Like, go out and help people and do good stuff with it. And what'll happen is that the people who would put themselves in a position of the church would not have that mindset, and nobody gets help. We're all on our own. So they have failed us, okay? That's why, they just, like, most of the money goes to their little pet projects and stuff, and nobody's really being helped with that money who needs the help. And then people get frustrated because they're like, well, why didn't God save me from evil? Well, God's instruments on this planet, their heart wasn't in it. And that's why you didn't get saved. And, that happens, unfortunately. That's why, I would tell you straight up, I can't be a church leader. I mean, it's not that I'm not saved or of God or anything. I'm just not qualified. Or I don't know. I mean, I would have that part down. I probably would just do right by the money. I'm just saying, but it takes more than that. Like, you have to be perfect, really. And, we have a lot of churches. We don't have a lot of qualified church leaders, I think, is the problem. We don't have a lot of qualified church leaders. Like, they're not going to do right by us all the time because their heart's not going to be in it. And people get disappointed and they lose faith in God, which is why a bad church leader is probably the most dangerous thing you could ever have. It's the most dangerous thing you could ever have, because when they fail, people lose faith in God. They lose faith in God. And let me be the first to tell you that you should probably just not go to church. The last thing you need to do is go to church and your faith in God gets damaged by church leaders who don't deserve to be church leaders. I mean, they're in it because it is working out for them. Like, it works to their benefit. They live comfortable lives off of it. People donate money and they don't even work. Like, just imagine, if I just think about it like this. I do a vlog, like the vlogs that I'm doing, my spiritual vlog, and I make about 60 or 70,000 a year just by doing this. Like, I go, it's basically what I'm doing. I make a vlog and I talk about the Bible and say, hey, Bible this, Bible that. And they do that and they make lots of money and they're comfortable and they have like a flock of people who follow them and respect them. And it really is a good hustle, except, like I said, the responsibilities. That's why the responsibilities. It's like people who are not qualified for positions get positions they're not qualified for. That's how this entire planet works. Like, unqualified people always get these positions because they're connected. And it's always like that. Like, you could be the best at your craft and never go anywhere. It's all about connections. The church is no different. The church helps the people, and the people who become church leaders don't become church leaders because God wanted them to do that. And you could tell because, like I said, their heart is never in it. It's just like they go in and they do it, and they're just normal people who know the Bible and went to school for it. Like, they go to seminary school and then they graduate, and once they graduate, it's like any job. It's like you went to college and you just got the job. Spirituality is not supposed to work like that. Like, they go to a college and then they graduate and get either their doctorate or their master's degree, and then they just come out and get it like it's a job. That has literally nothing to do with spirituality. Their heart, the type of people they are, doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is they have a certificate. It's like if I were to get a job doing anything, like an accountant. So they have basically, in this system, we have basically put God's works and spirituality in the same category as an accountant or a nurse or something like that. Like it just becomes his normal job. Spirituality is completely irrelevant. You're going to church and a person simply decided to go to college for it. That's why he's there. His heart is not in it. His connection with God, who cares? Who cares about what his connection with God? The only thing they're interested in is his degree. So like I said, you could get a banker who goes to seminary school and decides that he wants to do that, and he goes from being a normal banker to a leader of a church. Well, simply because he had the paperwork or a couple of really good connections with the paperwork, and that's all it takes. Anyhow, with that said, let me go ahead and close.